Morning YouTube, West Texas Prepper. Another fine Saturday morning out doing some pool work. This is a video response. I had a question on one of my videos that I posted last week about, I think the title was Power Outage, or Lessons Learned Power Outage. I'll put a link down in the description below, that way you can go back and check it. But I had a, so I don't know if they're a subscriber or not, but it's Prepared Chipmunk is the user's name. I like that name because, you know, chipmunks, they take care of their business. They store up their stuff and they're ready for the winter, and they take care of themselves. So I like that name. But they asked me a question. It says, can you explain to me why you said you needed to stay up and watch things? And I did send them a response back, but I think that's a good question. I stated in my video that, you know, the power went out about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I decided to go ahead and stay up through the morning. I had access to some social networking sites, waiting for radio reports to come in, and finally listening to the police scanners and whatnot, was finally able to ascertain what was going on and make some plans for my day. And that's really what I responded to them, was that information sometimes can be the best prep that you have. That is part of being prepared, having information. I believe I stated in my video the number of people that just weren't prepared and going out and getting water and some of the other things, and you can go watch the video to catch up on that. But that information is important. It can be information for short term. What kind of decisions do you need to make over the next couple hours? What kind of decisions do you need to make over the next day, 2 days, 3 days, etc. There's some local communities around us that have had water main breaks and things like that, where they've been on boil water notices for 4 or 5 days until they can get things repaired, because it does take them a little bit longer in some of these smaller municipalities that are around my town. It does take them longer sometimes to get some major things fixed, because they don't have the crews on hand like we do here in my town. I live in a town, we have a population of over 200,000, so when we have a water main break, they have people basically on call with the city 24 hours a day, so they can get out and get that repaired fairly quickly. In some of these smaller towns, when they have a water break, it shuts down water to the entire town, because we're talking communities 1,200, 1,500 people, sometimes smaller, maybe a little bit bigger, but it will shut water down to the entire community. And so some of these smaller communities have been put on boil water notices for 4 and 5 days, even though they have power, but their water's down. And that was a problem in our town. When the power went out, it shut down power to everything. The water system, the electrical system, so nothing was working. And we didn't have water pressure for about probably 3 hours. That was one of the first things that they brought back up, but they did put us on a boil water notice. I also responded to Prepared Chipmunk, tell them that, you know, in my business, it lets me know what I need to do as far as my daily plans. There were a couple things going on there. One, I needed to know how I needed to take care of my family. If everything was going to be up and running and okay before any of them got out of bed, then there was no worry about doing anything at the house. If electricity was going to be off for a longer period of time, then that let me know what I needed to do for my family, as far as making preparations to how we're going to go about our day, if it's going to be a long-term thing, a short-term thing, etc. If we're going to stay at home, how we're going to prepare meals. Our stove is electric, so without electricity we can't cook. You know, without electricity, things in the fridge and freezer are going to be okay unless you're opening and closing that a lot of the time, so I need to know what we need to do there. Do I need to break into my preps? Do I need to get out the gas stove or fire up the grill so we can boil some water and make oatmeal, or, you know, whatever we're going to do? So that's why I was staying up, just to ascertain what was going to take place in the day. Another thing I had to worry about was my business. A lot of you know, watching my videos, that I have a pool service business. I teach high school, but during the summer I also have a pool service business. And one of the things that I needed to know was how long was the power going to be out. Because if the power is going to be out for, you know, half the day, I don't need to go out and clean pools. because I can't clean if pumps aren't running. If it was going to be out longer than that, then I know that, yeah, I do need to go out, I do need to service my pools, put chemicals in them, etc. That way things will keep until the power gets up and gets running again. Also let my customers know that if they're having problems after the power comes back on, then we can get that fixed as well. So there are a lot of things going on, not just from a prepping standpoint and handling the situation, but also in just taking care of your other business that you have going on. So that information that we're looking for in those types of situations, always better to have information. Too many times I think in our society today, with the news cycles that we have, this 24/7 news cycle, when you have situations show up and make the press and make the national news and local news and things like that, so many times the first hour, 2 hours, 3 hours sometimes, they have no information. And basically what they're coming on and telling you is that we have a situation but we know nothing, stand by. And I think that's part of the problem with our society today. We're so nowish and we want to know everything right now, that we get anxious. And that's, I think, another thing with this video is that when you do have a situation that arises, panic and being anxious are not answers to help solve the situation. I was never nervous, and I think that's part of being prepared and planning for some of these things, some of the contingencies that can happen, is that you don't have to worry about being anxious. You don't have to worry about being nervous, scared, panicked in any of these type of situations. I was more tired than anything the next day, just because of the fact that I was up 4 or 5 hours earlier than I needed to be, just trying to get on top of what was going on. Listen to the police scanner, I was getting all the information that I could, and then when they finally released some information, radio stations were coming back online, and they finally started releasing information, hey, we're going to have things up and going citywide by whatever time. I think they said 7 o'clock in the morning. Then I didn't have any problems. I knew that the family was going to be okay, the refrigerator and freezers were going to be fine, food was not going to be an issue, and so we could go on about our daily work and not have to worry about anything. Whereas there were people that were just getting up at 6:30 in the morning, and they're not having water and they're not having electricity, and then they get in a panic. And I was watching that happening on the social networking sites. Well, I've got to run to the store and get water. What am I going to do for breakfast? And I mean, it was laughable, but also gives you some good information in the people that you're living around in your city or town. But just thought I'd make that video response. Some of you might or might not read all the comments, but I think it warranted a video response to that, and why I was up watching and listening and just gaining that information to see what was going on, so I could make some decisions, short-term and long-term, for that day, and maybe even days down the road if we needed to. But thanks again. This is West Texas Prepper. You guys have a good day out there in YouTube land. Enjoy your Labor Day weekend. I'm going to enjoy my Labor Day weekend by laboring. I've got to get caught up on some work, but hey, it's part of my prepping, so I'm not going to complain about it. This is West Texas Prepper. Do what you can with what you have where you are. We'll talk to you later.